Hi everybody, my name is Kelly and I have been in the wedding industry in Singapore for the past 15 years. Now if you've seen some of my previous videos, you will know the wedding industry is one of the hardest industry to be in. You've got a really high physical cost, you've got emotional cost, and then in the context of Singapore, the wedding market is just too small for anybody to make a lot of money. So in my previous video, I kind of said that, if given another chance, I probably would still choose bridal. And that is true, right? Of course, there are a lot of times that I wish that I could just walk away and I would just want to leave and all that. Wedding industry is not easy, especially that when I first started my bridal business, as you may have already known, I did like a cheap wedding boutique when I first started out. I was around 21 years old when I first started my business, and doing a cheap wedding boutique was probably one of the most silly things that I have done to myself, because I met some of the most difficult customers right at the beginning of my career. So story time, there was this bride that came to me when I first started my bridal business. She was pregnant, around 5 or 6 months pregnant back then, and then her fiance just got out of jail. So she told me that, look, I don't have much money. My fiance just come out of jail, he's jobless. And then my mom is just a cleaner, so I can't afford to pay much for the wedding. Can you please give me discounts, right? So at 21 years old, I was still kind. I think I'm still kind today, but I was even more kind back then. I said, yes, I will give you discounts. So I remember giving her a really steep discount and all that, helped her to get in photographers, makeup artists for wedding day and so on and so forth. And then right before she was supposed to collect her wedding dress and everything, she's supposed to make the full payment. But she couldn't do that at that point in time. She told me that, look, I can't pay you the full amount. Can you please help me out one more time? I can only pay you like 30% of the full amount, because I have to pay the hotel the full amount before I have my wedding over there. And then the bride's mom was there as well. She actually told me that, yeah, please, help me out. I was quite young back then, 21 years old. So the mom was calling me 小妹妹. She said, 小妹妹, help auntie. Auntie do cleaning business myself, so I understand that it's very difficult for you to do business. But it's the small business like you that can help us out, because then you don't have boss to report to. You are the boss already. So if it's just up to you whether or not you want to help us or not. So at that point in time, I kind of feel threatened to help them, but out of my goodwill, I say that, okay, look, I am willing to help you just because I understand how difficult your position is. But I will still need the full payment after your wedding. So they collected the dress and all that, they went off for their wedding. And then after the wedding, they kind of disappeared. They refused to pay me. So I remember contacting them and then finally getting to meet them and all that, and ask them for the payment. This time the bride came together with her husband, and then her husband told me, look, no matter what you do to us, we're not going to pay you a single cent, because I have no money and there's nothing that I can do about it. If you're going to call police, you call police. At most, I will go back to the jail one more time, but my brothers who are gangsters, they will look for you every single day to make your life miserable. I was just 21 and he was threatening me like that. I remember feeling really scared. I looked at the bride's mom seeking support. I told her, auntie, can you please help me out, because you promised me that you will pay me back, and that is why I decided to help you guys. And I remember the auntie telling me that, look, this one is out of my hands already, because they are already married now. So my daughter and him is now one family. It's between my daughter and my son-in-law. I am out of this. You shouldn't be claiming money from me, because they are already married. And I felt so hopeless at that moment in time, because like, how can anyone be like that, right? There are people who are like that. So lesson one learns about human nature. So the aftermath is that I threatened to call the police. I didn't care. I said that, look, this one is really not right, because I've already helped them pay for their photographer and their makeup artist out of my own goodwill with my own money. So at least you have to pay all this to me, right? So I remember that at the end of the day, they kind of top up a little bit more, but it was not enough to pay for like all their photographer and makeup costs. So making a loss from that deal. So I remember that at that point in time, I didn't call the police, just because I was thinking that, oh, she's, heavily pregnant and all that. If anything were to happen, then they are going to make my life shit, and then maybe the guy will come up against us or me and all that. So I just treat it like as a loss for that deal. And most importantly, I think at the point in time I was just thinking that I can spend more time briefing about what's going on with this silly stupid customer that made use of my goodwill, or I move on and try to work out other people's weddings. But that incident definitely affected me. I was feeling really upset for weeks and months, and my close rates were horrible. I was losing confidence, and I was thinking, okay, maybe I should just walk out of this industry and all that. But wedding industry is not industry that you can walk out easily on, just because most of the brides that sign up with me, let's say today, their wedding will be in a year's time. So I was thinking that it's really irresponsible for me to immediately walk out on them. Right, so because of that, I kind of stayed a little bit longer. And because I stayed a little bit longer, it turns out that I realized that wedding is not that bad after all. Because after I've learned how to reposition myself, I have learned, how to properly manage people, and all that, things were a lot smoother. And that is when I realized that, okay, in the wedding industry, there's so much things for me to learn. For example, I think the wedding industry definitely taught me resilience. It's given me a very thick skin. And then wedding industry has taught me how to communicate with people, how to work with brides' family dynamics and all that. When my staffs were having a bad day, how do I talk to the staff? And I learned how to manage my own expectations, as well as learning how to manage other people's expectations when it comes to weddings, and when it comes to my own staff management style and all that. So because of all these things that's ongoing with the wedding industry and how my life has evolved, I've became a mom of two and all that, I've learned that what I ultimately want from my business is not just like hustling and all that. I want to be able to build a business whereby I give my staff a good life. I give them work-life balance, and I give myself work-life balance as well. The people that I've worked in the wedding industry, they are a bunch of really genuine people. I've spoken about this in my previous videos, but to give you some proof of why they might be really awesome people, just think about the example that I just gave you. Anybody that can withstand that kind of bullshit in their life, they must be quite nice, alright? Otherwise, they throw everything and just run away, because it's really not easy. And most of these bridal consultants, they have to deal with a lot of the bride's emotions, not just their happy emotions, but sometimes their bad emotions as well. For example, brides, they can come for appointments, and then suddenly the mom is just angry with the bride because she found out a tattoo that she didn't know about, and so on and so forth. So all these people that you will be working with in the wedding industry, they are genuinely nice people. Wedding industry is also an industry that taught me how to handle urgent situations. So because wedding is something that happened just like for that one day, you can't really afford to F up anything, right? So another story time, there was once I had a new staff that came in, and on her first day, I told her that, okay, let's learn how to iron a dress properly so that when we do the handover, you'll be nice. So I have this jumpsuit that I made for my bride. She came in for, it was a custom-made jumpsuit. So she came for fittings for like, I think 4 months or something. It was made across 4 months. And she was coming to collect the dress tomorrow. And then the bride, and then my staff was just doing ironing on the dress. And I remember right before we knocked off, she was still working on the ironing. She came to me, and then her face was white. She said that, Kelly, I burned a hole on the pants. And she was really scared. She looked like she was going to cry. And to be honest with you, at that moment in time, I want to cry as well, because it's people's wedding in a few days' time. She's here for about 4 months to do all her fittings. And right, one day before she's supposed to collect the dress, you told me that you burned a hole in people's pants. Like what? But instead of panicking and crying, creating problems and all that, I was then focused on how do I solve this problem, right? I looked at my staff calmly, and I told her that you learned tailoring before, right? You know how to cut fabrics. We have the exact fabric. you tear the jumpsuit down, we cut it out, and then we immediately sew it up, okay? You need to stay here until it's done. So I remember on that night, we all worked together to cut up the dress, to sew and everything. And then by the time that our tailor reached us by the next morning, we get her to do the last QC and everything. The bride came in, she fit, everything worked out perfectly. She collected the dress. We didn't create any drama for the bride. We didn't make her worry for nothing. Somehow we learned how to solve a very urgent issue, that wouldn't have been possible, I think, if anything. And I remember that after that incident, my staff looked at me and she's like, oh my God, I can't believe that you're so calm, because if that were to happen to me, I will die, I will cry. Yeah, and it's things like that it's because of my years in bridal that taught me this, and it's a really important skill to have in life. I think what people don't see in the wedding industry is the amount of job that we are doing to help people around us. So I think that as a bridal business owner, the first level of context is of course my staffs, right? And I think that building a bridal business is helping a dying trade in Singapore, especially. There are a lot of fashion graduates every single year that cannot find a job. I cannot hire a lot of people just because wedding industry itself is so small. But being able to help one person at a time is already, I feel that it's already an accomplishment for myself. And then in turn, these staffs that I work with, they could go on and help the brides who wants to get married, help brides who are in need. And when you are able to help a bride find her dream dress and all that feeling itself is unbeatable. For some of the staff that I've hired, they may have really good skills in tailoring, in designing and all that. And seeing their own hard work come to life is something that's priceless as well. Like I remember just 2 years ago, one of my staff came to me and she said that, I've never thought that with my skill set, I'll be able to achieve this kind of income that helped me get my first branded bag. And I think that when that happened, I just feel so happy for her because I feel that I must be doing something right. I feel genuinely happy whenever I see my staff growing and I see that they're improving their life because of the industry that we are in. And once I have learned how to work with the industry actually returned me something that's so important. My lost time, right? I now have pretty much complete freedom because of the industry that I was in. I have been working remotely for my business for 2 entire years now, and it is all because I've learned how to work with people around me. I have learned enough about the industry to know how things can work, that I come up with a complete SOP, a system that can help my staffs do their job well, even without me, and to help them grow as a person at the same time. And reaching a stage whereby the business can do so well without even my presence at all itself is priceless. It's something that I would never have imagined when I first started my business, to be able to be completely free and to be able to help so many people at the same time. So if you ask me today whether or not I am going to be doing bridal again, if I were to restart my life, I would say yes, I will. Even though the beginning of it is really difficult. I had no time for myself and everything. But ultimately, with hard work and ultimately by learning how things work in the industry, I was able to make the business sustainable and ultimately helping myself and helping people around me. And the thing that kept me going for 15 years is not the dress itself, it's not the fashion, it's not the money. It is the people around me that I work with. My awesome friends in the wedding industry, my staffs who, are working so hard for their own life, working so hard for the brides that we meet, and the group of awesome brides that keep recommending their friends to us. So that's all for today's video. I hope that it's helpful to any business owners out there, whether you're doing bridal business or any other small businesses and all that. Sometimes it's not that you can't succeed, or I know that it's really difficult for you. It looks like nothing is ever working out and all that. But believe me, give it time, and with time, you can succeed for sure. Now, if you need anybody to talk to, you want some help and all that, please hit me up. I'm always happy to help. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.